We are a decade removed from these two actually being attached at the hip, but here we are. Twitter fights, they never end. Jay Gruden, former Washington Redskins head coach. That's their team name back then. Remember that?
The R words?
Yeah, that was 2 names ago for that team. This is how long it's been. 2 name changes of the franchise.
I can't believe it's been a decade.
Almost gonna be a 3rd name change. Think about that. They're like, by all accounts, the Commanders are gonna change their name again. Like, Josh Harris is like, this is stupid. We want something new. But Jay Gruden and RG3 are Twitter fighting, which did not have that one on the bingo card.
Didn't see it coming.
During the Monday night wildcard game between the Buccaneers and the Philadelphia Eagles, Gruden tweeted out, "If I ever put a quarterback what Philly's putting Jalen through, I apologize. Pick up a blitz." And when I saw that tweet, I was like, oh, damn, I wonder if he's meaning RG3. RG3 then quote tweeted it, say, what? You were, and then Gruden took the bait and said, "You weren't prepared, Robert." Uh-oh. That's not good. And we get escalating from there. Griffin said, "You told me you didn't know how to coach a quarterback who could throw and run like me, so it looks like you weren't prepared, Jay." Gruden said, "You're right. We didn't have good enough stuff. Sorry. Hope all is well with you." Hey, that's a good way to kind of, all right, we're going to make this go away. Wrong. Because RG3 then went in on his podcast and talked about how Gruden went off on him and then, burned him in front of his teammates. And then Gruden got back on Twitter and said, "You really want to play this game?" And RG3 said, "I'm not into playing any games. I'm retired. You have a free invite to come on the show." Oh yeah, pump the podcast.
That's right. Come on the pod. Let's get into a fight. We should get in a Twitter fight.
Yeah. And then Gruden said, "You weren't good enough. Kirk was better. Cleveland didn't want you. Baltimore didn't either. Quit blaming me."
Hit him with F-U.
And then Gruden goes and says, "Go race a pigeon," and posted the video of RG3 racing the Seahawk in Seattle.
That's such a great clapback.
I love this. I love all of this. This is fantastic.
Such a great clapback.
I love it all, but I did not have Jay Gruden, RG3 fighting on Twitter.
I didn't realize it was that bad between them.
Yeah, it got salty. Well, RG3's a diva, man. And
corny.
Jay Gruden is a Gruden. He's a red ass.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, he is what he is. And RG3 is very much about himself. And we know that.
Wait, you mean the guy who on national TV made it a big deal that he had to run and go see his wife because she was immediately in labor at that moment? Then we found out 2 months later that her actual due date was 2 months later. And when she had her actual kid, that guy is all about himself.
Yeah. Yeah, that guy.
The more you know.
But there is something, though, about RG3, and that kind of gets lost in this, is that I don't think Jay Gruden liked Robert Griffin III, the person, right?
I don't think either one of them liked the person.
But you have to separate the person from the player, and I think Jay Gruden probably took issue with that, because now Jay Gruden probably thinks that RG3, because he is, out there as much, in the public, wanting attention, stuff like that, probably felt like he was not preparing as he needed to. Mm-hmm. I can tell you this, man. RG3 did prepare for football, and as a broadcaster, I know for a fact he does prepare, because like you hear in production meetings, he's the most active one. Like, he is asking actual questions, trying to dig in both offensively and defensively when they meet with head coaches, coordinators on both sides of the football, actually trying to, get to what the core of what they're doing beyond what he'll say on a broadcast, which a broadcast stuff is very surface level type stuff.
Right.
And there are coaches that rave about, like, hey, RG3, he does a really good job in preparing. And as a player, RG3 prepared. They just, it was so new. Like, could you imagine what they would do with RG3 now? he was really at the infancy and people still trying to figure out what you needed to do with an athlete like him playing quarterback
well, he was
and running the football.
Like, he was at that age, and he came in right around, I mean, I know he was a higher pick than Terrell Pryor, but when Terrell Pryor came in, it was like, how quickly can we get him to wide receiver? How quickly can we move Denard Robinson and his untied shoes to slot receiver?
That's right.
People didn't know how to deal with RG3. And there was also that belief of you can't have a running quarterback because they don't work enough on their passing ability.
And it's not, it isn't just, RG3, the running quarterback, because look, he was in college like during the blur, right? When Chip Kelly
offense,
and the blur offense and the zone read was starting to be the boom. It took so long for that to trickle up to the NFL. And really, there is trickle up. Like, a lot of the stuff that we see, it starts at high school levels because you have to find the shortcut.
Right.
When
you don't have the dudes and you got to go. When you're at, I don't know, I don't want to denigrate any high school, but when you're at Hudson's Bay and you have to go take on Central Catholic, there's a talent difference.
And so you have to find the shortcuts to compete. And it is different in college where you're recruiting your guy, your style, right? And it's even more different in the NFL where everybody's got the damn dudes, right? And so there was so much reluctance in how you molded your offenses. It was so stagnant. That's why, like, we talk about, Kyle Shanahan and his coaching tree. Well, his dad, Mike, the zone read or the zone blocking scheme, people are like, this is so unique and different. It's like everybody runs it now. But
they run it in high school.
In the 90s, that's all we run. In the 90s, it was like this brand new thing, and the NFL couldn't figure it out. Where you don't just put a hat on the hat and go.
You don't literally point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah. We're not going down the line. What are we doing here? Right? The NFL is so slow to adapt because everybody is worried about their job, right? And RG3 quite literally had world-class speed. World-class speed.
I mean, he beat that pigeon.
He beat the pigeon. I mean, he was one of the best hurdlers in the nation in college. Like, he was a bona fide dude. In the 400 hurdles, he ran a 49.2 something. That is absolutely flying over hurdles for 400 meters. He was a freak athlete. He ran, and for 300 hurdles reference, in high school, he ran a 35.3 in the 300 hurdles.
Oh my God.
RG3, he was a guy that his athleticism, Jay Gruden didn't know how to coach, and he even admitted in that little Twitter spat that they had. But the fact that here we are a decade later hashing this thing out, chef's kiss. I absolutely love it. And
I love when people fight on Twitter.
Yeah. If John Gruden was able to have a computer anymore, I'd love to see him getting in fights on the internet.
I don't think any of us need to see that.
Yeah.
I think we'd learn new language.
Yeah. And this text says, wasn't Vic on the Vancouver Ford text side, wasn't Vic and McNabb in the league for like 10 years before RG3? Yeah. But they didn't know how to use them. Like Michael Vick, they tried to go, you will be a passer.
They were like, sit in the pocket and don't move. The other thing too is they were the outliers of their time. Because if you really want to do this, then the whole thing is, Randall Cunningham was able to move, right? Fran Tarkington. They were outliers. RG3 is the start of, no, I need a quarterback that can move because I want to use that ability. The +1 run game, when you can use a quarterback where they're running and now you get an extra blocker.
You're playing 11 on 10.
It completely changes how a defense has to stop you and has to attack you. And people didn't really start taking that concept and running with it in the NFL until right around when RG3 comes in.
Yep. And I mean, look, think of the way that teams create numbers mismatches in the run game when you have a running quarterback. You just leverage a team. You could leave 3 guys on the backside unblocked, and when you have a guy with the speed of RG3, good luck. Those guys aren't catching him.
I mean, think about it. When you have a guy with the speed of RG3, you can go empty backfield, have all all of your wide receivers on the line of scrimmage, wide receivers, tight ends, running back. At any point, any of those guys can go deep. RG3 has the ability to make that throw. Or, oh, by the way, they could also run a run play where RG3 gets out in motion and starts running, right? It can be designed for him to just take it as a draw or take it to the edge, whatever he wants to do. Can you imagine as a defense trying to make sure that you had enough guys to cover everyone if they all went deep at the same time and have enough guys in the box to stop RG3?
Yep.
You just can't do it.
All right. That's our worst day on the web. It's fantastic.
Wah, wah.
Wah, wah, wah.